It's Cool Shouts.
Three years ago, when Beverley Smith was made redundant, she didn't bother to look for another job. She'd had enough of working for other people, so she did what many young people would like to do. She became her own boss.
Rather than sitting back and doing nothing, I decided to put my time to good use and try to make a business up that way. With trial and error, really.
Her last job had given her a taste of glass engraving, and with a little help, she thought she could make a go of it.
I'm fortunate in the fact that I have parents that are self-employed and local family that are self-employed who I could turn to for small problems. Had something cropped up, then I'm fortunate to have somebody to refer to, but the main one, you know, is down to me at the end of the day. I hadn't got very much money as starting capital. It took all that I had saved, which was a total of £275. Which was enough to purchase the engraving equipment that I have today. I approached my father to see if it was possible for me to have the use of his car showroom, and he willingly said yes, which I'm very fortunate in. And I do get, you know, quite a lot now of passing trade, as well as using it as a base to work from. If I do about 8 a day, 5, 6 days a week, that's quite adequate really for what I want. As long as I have a nice, steady income, can afford to buy small amounts that I need. I'm not extravagant in that way, you can't afford to be. Then I'm quite happy. I'm not after making a million. You'll never do it in a job like this anyway. I get a great deal of satisfaction out of my work and a great deal of satisfaction out of knowing that I've done it on my own without any outside influence. There's nobody, no tutor or anything there behind me. You don't need art college behind you to get along. If you're determined enough to do it, you don't need it. I think one of the main difficulties in working for yourself is to motivate yourself. You've got to find something to motivate you, and you've got to be dedicated. It's too easy when you've nobody there overlooking what you're doing to say, oh, it's a nice day, I'll go out, I'll do the shopping or do what you want to do. When you realise that when you aren't there working, there's no money coming in.
Of course, working means more than just engraving glasses. Beverley takes every opportunity to show her work at everything from craft fairs to demonstrations at the local church hall.
If you should be interested in coming up and watching me as I work, please feel free to do so and to look at my work on display here behind me. So feel free to come up. I don't have any glasses in shops. A lot of shops, they want them in on sale or return, and they're filling their shelves up while they're selling their own goods. They're not too worried about yours being sold. They're not paying for those, and I don't like that idea. I have got a reader's offer in a magazine, advertisement there, to do the mail order side. I approached the managing director, was quite cheeky by asking him if he'd take the glasses on, and I'm delighted to say that he did do. He's done me a lot of help in that way. I think you have to be cheeky to get on. I mean, you've got to ask people if they'll help in this way or that way. Don't be frightened of them. They can only turn around and say no.
Hi.
Hi, Stuart. How's it going?
Very well, I think. This is what we've got for you so far, on a half-page format. That we hope to drop in. We don't know yet. Now, we've got 2 picks to choose from.
It is essential that you plough the money you get back into the business. If you pull The weight from underneath its feet, it's just going to collapse. You've got to keep that money. You've got, certainly, I should say, unless you're very fortunate, for the first 2 years, you can take actually very little out for yourself. It's got to be there to build it up and get their business established and get more orders that way.
Oh, that looks super, yes, that's fine.
Good. We can have your signature then, can we?
Can we sit?
And
Yes.
pass that.
Certainly, yes.
Great.
It's been a long, slow process. If anybody thinks they can go self-employed and it happens overnight, they've got the wrong idea. They usually say it takes 2 years to 2.5 years to get established, and it's working that way with myself. I'm glad now that it's been hard work and it's not been given to me on a plate. I've had to work for it, but it's all my own work. I get a great deal of job satisfaction out of the work that I'm doing, and I'm hoping that in the near future, as it's looking at the moment, things are going to improve considerably.
It can be a problem running your own business if, like me, your mind's alert and active, but your body's incredibly lazy. So I've worked out the ideal situation. Run your very own business from bed. Excuse me. Hello? Oh, hello, just a minute. I've got you somewhere. Get this bed tidied up. Yes, your order is on its way. Yeah, my partner's checked it. No, you can't speak to him. Why? He's sleeping.
Making music for money is also a business. A band is booked to put on a show. If they don't get there on time, if they don't perform well, they won't get booked again. They'll still be musicians, but they won't be professional musicians. The band ANABAS began life a little over a year ago. The 3 founder members had all been in bands before, but in each case the band had folded because of personality problems or a lack of commitment. This time they intend to become full-time performers, but they're still learning that there's more to the music business than music.
Well, to get a gig like this set up when you haven't got an agency, you have to book things like PAs, but the biggest hassle is probably the publicity, getting people aware that the gig's on, and actually going through the process of designing a poster from scratch, sending out letters and getting things in the post. To set up as a band, you have to basically have your own gear because no one's going to buy you the gear, so you've got to have pretty good stuff straight away.
In the first 12 months, keeping the band going has cost them more money than they've made. Apart from the investment in equipment, their first and only single cost them over £100 each to record and promote. And it's not just money you need to get a band off the ground, you need commitment too.
The strong commitment's very important because you get a lot of knocks along the way. I mean, that's a cliche, but you do. And you've got to be aware that not everyone's going to like you for a start. You've got to have faith in what you do. Otherwise, there's no point doing it. I mean, if you're just bashing away at something you don't really believe in, then there's no point. But yeah, you do have to have a lot of faith in what you do.
But even though their first year wasn't all that successful, they've continued to write songs and are planning to spend more money on recording. What do they hope to be in 5 years' time?
Well, successful, really. In 5 years' time, I'd like to be successful.
Successful bands give the public 3 things: records they want to buy, stage performances they'll pay to see, but especially an image they want to identify with. Basically, the music business isn't about selling records, it's about musicians selling themselves. Pete Wylie had 2 hit singles, but he also had his fair share of troubles. Rather than allow his record company to make him into something he didn't want to be, he spent 18 months out of the charts before returning on his own terms with a top 10 single. What advice would he give?
I think I'm probably the worst person in the world to give you the business advice, you know, on my past record. So the things you'll want, right, you've got to establish, what I was saying earlier was you've got to establish what you want to go for, right? Not just in terms of what kind of people you want to buy your records, because you've got no control over that. You might really want to be an extremist band and you'll sell to Nolan's fans, or you might want to be a cutesy cabaret band and you'll end up selling to radical people for one reason or another, right? I mean, that's extremes, but it happens, you know. So you've got to sort of decide not so much who you're aiming for, but how you're willing to go about any level of success you achieve.
Where do we go from here? This is
well,
what we want to know. See how where do we start? I mean,
there are no sets of rules, right? It's really as simple as that. You can't have rules made for you. You've got to decide eventually. I think you've got to play yourself in and feel happy with what you're doing, and all of you really feel as committed as each other.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure even if I've found where sometimes the first group started out with really best, closest mates, and we all thought we shared a common link, you know, musically and politically or whatever. And then you find that along the way, there's one guy who wants to go on the Sooty Show with you. I was talking about the Sooty Show earlier. You know, there's really like some people will go on the Sooty Show and I wouldn't. And there's people on the other hand who want to do things for the, for example, the Young Socialist rally. Yeah. And one of you might not want to or whatever, you know what I mean? And so there's going to be times along the way where you're going to have those clashes. And some of them, you'll cross, you know, you'll say, well, the others are into it, so I'll go with it.
What do you think about sort of major labels or any label at all? I mean,
basically, the record companies, big record companies, are in the business of making cornflakes boxes, and you're the cornflakes that goes in it, right? Yeah. And if you don't want to be cornflakes, if you want to be like muesli or whatever,
Rice Krispies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've had it, you know. You've got to find the company who's into marketing Rice Krispies. Personally, I think it's great to get a lot of money, but then you have got to make certain commitments to them that you will like do things, and no matter you'll do certain performances and make a certain amount of records. If you don't want to do that, if you want to just make like records you want to make, you can't really go for that. Somebody might say to you, do this gig, and you say great, and you get to it, and you think, oh my God, what are we doing here? 3 people turn up, and like, but one of them might be Phil Spector, or one of them might be, you know, a real like Paul McCartney or the head of EMI, and they're just bowled over, you know. So there is always the luck element, and there's no way ever you can plan for that.
In a business like the music business, success and failure are never far apart. ANABAS are certainly their own boss, but it's the audience that controls their future.
I find young people increasingly saying, we don't want to become big businessmen. We don't want to live for nothing but work. But we do want to have some kind of work. And if there aren't firms that can provide it for us, then we'll try working for ourselves. We help set up and attract a group of young people who could run their own business. We're not there to run the business for them. We're not the bosses of the business. But we provide them with help, and if we can get them resources. Instant Muscle, in each of the locations where it operates, has a support group of business people, academics, just people who are interested in helping young people. And we help with the initial dealings with the DHSS and bodies like this.
Instant Muscle helps set up cooperatives owned and managed by young people. The idea being to give young people confidence in their own ability to go it alone. John Marks is an Instant Muscle coordinator. A self-employed painter and decorator himself, his role is to advise and help a co-op who call themselves Youth Enterprise Sheffield.
The decision-making's based on the cooperative idea that sort of everybody in the group has a vote. And if there is any argy-bargy, then it's taken to the vote. But usually through discussion, stuff's sorted out pretty amicably. I think you've got to be the sort of person who just doesn't want a 9-to-5 job. Somebody that's prepared to possibly work 9 to 5 at work, but behind the scenes you've got to put a lot of hours in of preparation before you get to the jobs. And very often you're sorting out all your own paperwork and quotations and things like that, and it adds up to a very long working week. At the end of the week, when the money's taken in for the jobs, the hours that the lads have worked are all added together. They're then divided into the money that we've got, less the expenses taken out, and this gives us a sort of hourly rate. And then, according to the amount of hours each lad's worked, he's paid that amount. The sky's the limit as to what you can earn, even though we've started in a small way. But I think everybody that's become very successful in business has had to start in a small way and build it up from there.
But what does the group think it gets from being involved with Instant Muscle?
They give us a lot of advice and, you know, a lot of help what we wouldn't get if we was on our own, you know what I mean?
Self-employment is hard graft. Of the 5 original members, 3 have given up. But there are compensations. Tony, one of the founder members, recalls their first job with pride.
Cosmetic shop, we helped decorate that. You know, we really thought business-like. I can't really explain the feeling, but it was marvellous.
Between them, the group have the skills to do house repairs and maintenance, general gardening work and furniture restoration. And they're developing a new idea to make money.
When it's bad weather, we're unable to do painting and decorating. We come indoors and knock a few dolls' houses out. I'd seen them in red gates and places like that, and they're made out of cheap plastic. And I thought I'd start making them out of wood, quality dolls' houses. Before, by hand, it took about 12 hours. It's about 6 hours now that we've got a machine. Say if it takes us 10 hours, we work out so that we're making £3 an hour, plus cost of materials on top of that and everything. So we're making a good profit.
No business is going to go far unless it keeps careful track of its cash flow and continues to attract new customers. That's Hillary's job. She's the 4th member of the co-op.
My job really is answering the phone when customers ring up wanting some work doing. I type quotes and send them out to the customers. We have leaflets, we've been on the radio, and we've been in the local free newspaper. It's had quite a large response from when I've taken the leaflets into shops. People have noticed them and picked them up, and then they have been in contact with me. The radio programme, there wasn't much response with that. With private houses, there's been quite a good response as well, but we've still got to distribute quite a few more leaflets in those areas. It's Hillary here from Instant Muscle. The doll's house is ready. The boys will bring it down. OK then. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
If they feel they have a say over the direction of the company, of the little organisation that they set up, then there is a sense of mastery, if you like. You see changes in people. You see them taking on things, going to customers, making quotes for work, making decisions about what to do and when to do it, which would have been very different from the kind of decisions that they were capable of making when they joined a few months before.
If you think Instant Muscle is for you, the address to contact is Instant Muscle, P.O. Box 48, Farnham, Surrey.
I'm self-employed and I work and I earn, but I can't get to sleep, so I toss and I turn. Masses of problems, hassles with tax. I'm self-employed, so I'm giving myself a sack.